You are going to want to stay tuned for this current episode because not only are we going to talk through some things we always talk through on the infinite banking concept, we are going to interview Rachel Katz and her company, Key to Debt Free. This company helps out with student loan consolidation, forgiveness, credit repair, credit score increases. It is so cool, and she's got a special offer to offer all of you who come through the link that we'll put in our show notes, that come through the Banking Bros podcast to her, direct to her via a video call to kind of talk about your situation. And so in this episode, we'll dive onto all of those things. You'll hear from Rachel specifically herself, and we'll have such a great time.
In this edition of Nelson's Notes, we're going straight to the book, BYOB, from Nelson Nash. And this quote comes to us from page 3. This book is not about investments of any kind. It is about how one finances the things of life, which can certainly include investments. It's not about rates of return. Thanks, Nelson.
Rachel, thanks so much for joining us on today's podcast episode. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited that you are here. Rachel, we talk to people all the time about kind of our save and spend system, and part of that is getting their current financial situation under control. Your company, Key to Debt Free, can be a significant part in that. If you wouldn't mind, would you tell the people who are out there listening and watching just about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Rachel Katz. I have my company, Key to Debt Free. We started in 2017. We mainly focus on helping people with student loans, federal student loans primarily, take advantage of government payment relief programs and forgiveness programs that are actually for real and borrowers have been taking advantage of. So that was our main focus. And then we evolved into credit repair, credit restoration, and teaching people actually how to leverage credit using other people's money, get out of debt, and start investing in themselves.
I love that. The part that I love the most is when you said using other people's money. Who doesn't like that? We obviously teach that when we talk about the infinite banking concept, right? Using the insurance company's money in order to do things like get out of debt and whatnot. So Rachel, here's the fun part. You and I have actually connected personally over some student loans that I had. And so if you're like listening to this episode or watching and you're like, does it actually work? Well, you can go from my experience. We have connected. I've got some student loans that I could have taken policy loans to pay, but I kind of didn't want to. I didn't really want to give the money away. I had other things to do with it. And after talking with Rachel, we were able to get both of those. Actually, my personal loans got consolidated. So that was great. Instead of like 15 different things, there's like 2 now. And then we got on a specific repayment schedule that actually allowed me to have a way lower payment. Actually, I don't think I've even got a payment right now. And there's like a running clock or something that's going on. Rachel, do you remember what we did?
So that's exactly what we did. So the programs do involve 2 components. One, the payment relief aspect. That's the repayment plan. That's based on how much debt you have, what's your current income, and your household size. So they take into consideration your money going to other things besides a student loan. So it's designed to give you an affordable monthly payment, so it's not a financial burden. And in some cases, a lot of cases, it could be as low as $0. The second part of that is that repayment term, or otherwise known as the forgiveness program. That actually is the running clock. So it's the end date of when your loans will be either completely paid off or potentially forgiven by the government. So that's what we're doing, is basically putting you into these programs, structuring the loans correctly so you can take advantage of those different relief plans.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I went through that process with you and got exactly what I was looking for, basically. One, there's clarity there. So now I know, because I had no idea before, and you walked me through that. So thank you. And 2, it's the plan that I needed and wanted now, where I have a way lower of a payment. Again, I don't actually think I make a payment, and I've got the clock. So now I know. So Rachel, you've got to tell the folks who are out there listening, what are some common like misconceptions about student loans, or what are things that they're missing that they don't even realize they're missing? Because the average person probably in their 30s and 40s and 50s is carrying student loan debt, and they're carrying a significant amount of it. So what are some of the things they should look out for? Or what are some of the things that you know that they don't?
Yes. So actually, there's 47 million borrowers with student loans currently, and they're ranging anywhere from 22, 23 years old, just graduating, up until their 60s or 70s. So there's a broad range of people here that are struggling with this debt. Some of the big misconceptions is that these programs are fake, right? That they're not real. And in fact, they've actually been around since 2008. And it's interesting you bring this up, because these were designed by the Department of Education to help people to, make student loans, going to school, not a financial burden. But the problem is there's a conflict of interest, right? So we have loan servicers that we have to pay the debt to once we graduate. Well, their job is actually to inform you, the borrower, about these relief programs if, in fact, you can't afford your monthly payment. Or if you qualify, for example, you're in public service, maybe you're a teacher, a doctor, a nurse. Well, there's programs that are designed for you specifically to not only expedite getting to relief, but also getting forgiveness.
Yeah.
But again, conflict of interest. Why would a debt collector ever call you and tell you how not to pay them back? But the programs are real and people can take advantage of them. The problem is they just don't know how.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And there's tons of hoops. They don't make it easy.
I know that's right. And one of the things that I'm even thinking of is, haven't some of these programs even changed in the last couple of years? Like they phase some in or phase some out. How have you navigated that? And are people supposed to keep up, or is it more like, no, you need to work with somebody who knows what they're doing? And other than that, it's going to be really confusing.
Yes, so it's intentionally confusing, and you're absolutely right. We are seeing some of the programs being taken away because of the one big beautiful bill, and the ones that are actually being taken away, ironically enough, were never actually put into law. There's only one program that's actually written into law with Congress that can be taken advantage of. All those other ones that have been around are going to be phased out. So it is important to, one, hey, can you find this information and get online and go to studentaid.gov and navigate and figure it out? Sure. But I'm going to promise you it's going to take a lot of time. And honestly, you're probably not going to actually know what to do because they don't make it easy. So that's why working with someone like us, who understands the student loan landscape is really great for the borrower. We're here to help the borrower understand. We don't work for the Department of Education. We don't work for the loan servicers. We're truly about educating and bringing forth the information so that you, the borrower, can make the best decision for yourself.
I love that. No, so Rachel, tell us who should look for your link in the show notes. Is it people who've got $50,000 or more? Is it, I don't want someone saying, oh, I've only got $5,000 of student loans, I don't need to call. Who's like your preferred client? Is it particular types of loans? Like if you went through this servicer, don't call, we can't help. Or if you went to this school, is there anything like that people should know about?
Yeah, so really anything federal loans we work with. We also will work with the private loan. It's just a different system. In fact, we use the IBC policy to kind of work with that, which is a great tool. But the federal student loans, which is primarily 80 to 85% of all student debt, you definitely want to look into these programs first and foremost. In fact, there's a ton of people currently already approved or eligible rather for loan forgiveness. In fact, I think one of the referrals that you sent me, Eileen Haley, just this last week, we got a confirmation of her loan forgiveness through public service that $180,000.
I love that.
So
that's good to hear.
congratulations to Ms. Haley for trusting in us and our services, and to you guys for referring her to us, because she was already ready. She was already eligible for the loan forgiveness. All we had to do was just restructure her loans a little bit, get her enrolled into the right programs. And I think it took maybe 6-7 months and she got the forgiveness. So,
I love that.
Definitely look into your options. Hey, if it doesn't work out and it's not going to be for you, at least you'll know. But the minimum we usually work with is $10,000 or more.
Okay, cool.
Again, if it's less than that, still reach out, because again, people, maybe you're not working, you're unemployed, and you're still holding $7,000, $8,000 of student debt, and maybe you're paying $100, $150. Well, we can certainly help by even getting it down to zero and getting you a chance to recover financially before we look at a better structure of paying it off.
There it is, right? We tell people all the time, on the road to financial freedom, we are trying to have your passive income be equal to or $1 higher or more, of course, than your fixed expenses. That's the important thing. And so if you can lower fixed expenses by getting a lower payment, consolidating, or even getting student loans forgiven or not have to pay, well, that gets you one step closer to that. So I love that. 180 grand. I now got to call and say congratulations on that. I'm happy. Okay,
Yes.
you mentioned student loan forgiveness, but you also mentioned credit repair and fix. And so tell us more about that and how you can help people there.
Yeah, so we have a credit restoration program. In fact, if you work with us in student loans, we actually offer the service at a much discounted rate. What we're able to do is we go through all 3 credit bureaus. We're going to not only look at what's plaguing the score, but we're going to go in there and correct it. Maybe you've got old bad debts, maybe some late payments because you had a little mix up. We can go in and remove all of that to boost your score. A lot of people don't realize that one late payment can cost you 35% of your score to be dropped. And it's not easy to get the credit bureaus to take them back off. So what we do is we use Fair Credit Reporting Agency Act. We use specific UCC codes to send in dispute letters to remove any item that we want. Most people don't realize that you have a right to dispute anything on your credit report, whether the debt is yours or not. Because what we're doing is we're putting that back into the creditor's court to prove that the debt is actually ours. And a lot of times, specifically with student loans, how many borrowers have had their student loans change loan servicers over the years?
Yep.
In fact, this is a major issue because most people now don't even know who their loan servicer is because 7 of the 12 closed in 2022. So again, how come things are being reported to our credit report that could be preventing us from taking advantage of it that may not necessarily be truthful, right? So that's where we can come in, clean it all up, allow you to start fresh, and then actually leverage and teach you how to use your credit to your benefit, right? Whether it's leveraging banks' money, pulling out lines of credit, building corporate credit profiles, which is something that we're really excited about. But you got to get good personal credit to even move into that sector.
Sure.
So it's really about fixing credit, teaching people how to use it, and then taking advantage of it. But our program allows us to fix all that in about 7 to 21 days. So it's a very quick process.
That is quick.
And if people are interested in that, very quick. Come let us know. We can also, just to piggyback on student loans, federal student loans are reported on our credit reports. The reason we don't know, because these were need-based loans, right? We didn't fill out or we didn't run our credit to get these loans. So why is it being reported on our credit? Because of those reasons and because of all the loan servicer changes, we're actually able to go in there and remove student loans from the credit report completely.
Man, that could be a big deal to a lot of people.
Huge, because now it lowers your DTI. And for example, some people didn't know who their loan servicer was. So they had some late payments, right? They're putting themselves in a situation that could be in default. We can correct that very quickly and give them that fresh slate, which is super important.
I love that.
If you're interested in that, definitely reach out for us.
Lowering that DTI is such a big deal for so many people because that's how you qualify for that next house. That's how that big business venture that you're looking to do and pull the money out and whatever, it's all debt to income ratio, right? And if you've got a big chunk of debt that can be reversed and removed, that's humongous. Okay, so we've got kind of the profile, Rachel, on who needs to call. So basically I heard federal student loans or private student loans over $10,000 is perfect. You need to call. If you're under $10,000, still check in. Okay, so now for the credit repair. Again, I heard if you're working with you doing the student loan stuff, the credit stuff is at a big discount. But talk to me about who fits the box. Who should actually call? Is it, I've already got 10 charged off credit cards. Should they call or no, don't call? Or is it just, talk to me about who actually needs to reach out.
Anybody who wants to better understand their credit score, that's first and foremost. Even, 20, 30 points below 700 is important to go in there because we could correct that for you. Most lenders are looking for over 700. But because we use creative debt, creative financing, we're able to help create strategies for people using these different programs to get them to where they want to be or to accomplish some of those goals. But really, anyone who just wants to understand how to leverage their credit better, because that's the thing you mentioned, our DTI and, setting up a business or pulling out credit for that aspect. A lot of people don't realize that that's still connected to us personally in our personal credit score. So if you own a home, if you have a car and you got student loans, you're over leveraged. You're not going to get any more money from the banks. But that's just where we go and teach you now, hey, we're going to use your personal credit score, but now we're going to teach you how to build corporate credit profiles. This is a completely different system. So someone who has an LLC, an S corporation, a small little business, we can now make the switch from using our personal credit all the time to building a corporate credit profile where that's where we're going out and lending the money.
Yep.
So now all the liability is transferred, right, to the business entity as opposed to us. However, the only way to get there is by starting with your personal credit.
Yep.
Completely backwards, but that's the way it works. So again, maybe you got good credit, you're trying to start a business, you're trying to figure out how to get more cash flow. Let's talk about corporate credit and corporate building so you can get funding in that way as well.
I love it. We tell people all the time when they're listening to our podcast, watching our YouTube videos, that you've got to start with your foundation, right? It's all about your financial foundation. If you're going to build a house, you lay the foundation first before you put the framing up in the roof. And some of these foundational aspects are exactly what Rachel can help you with if you reach out to her. Making sure that things like your debt to income ratio are lowered or in check so you can build on top of that. Making sure that you're consolidated or forgiven, or we can lower payments so you've got more cash flow so you can build on top of that. I don't know how many times I got to say it, right? If you've heard it once, you've heard it 100 times. But man, I love that. Okay, so Rachel, tell the people where they can find you. Now, I'm going to put the link to the calendar specifically where they can book, and you'll know that they came from our podcast, which is a little bit of a special offer here. You kind of want to go through this link if you want to talk to Rachel, because it'll make a little bit of a difference when you get on that phone call. So in the show notes of this episode, you're going to have that link where you can go and you can find Rachel and her services and you can talk to her. But is there anywhere else we should be looking? Any other social platforms where we can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us out on all the socials. We are on Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel as well. You can go to our website, key2debtfree.com, and navigate over there, book a call, or you can contact me directly at info@key2debtfree.com and just send an email and we'll reach out to you that way as well.
If you enjoyed this episode, you are going to love the next one. Jeremiah and I are going to dive directly into taxes and how they work and how they shouldn't work, and introduce you to maybe a partner who you can call to kind of get a lot of your tax questions answered. We'll dive into being taxed as an individual, or if you're a 1099 contract worker, how that works and how we do that specifically. We'll talk about paying your kids maybe, and some other tax strategies that you can implement in order to lower your tax liability. We'll talk about some of the new things that we're learning this year, like commercial real estate, that we are using to lower our tax liability. We'll talk a little bit about cost segs, that's cost segregation studies if you didn't know, and more. So if you love this episode, you've got to stay. If you're binge listening, listen to the next one, right? It's all about taxes. Jeremiah and I will jump into it. We'll introduce you to some cool partners. We'll talk about some strategies you may not know existed, and it's all coming right here on the Banking Bros podcast.
All right, let's take a quick second for today's top 5. This is the segment where I give you 5 resources that can help you start thinking differently about money, wealth, and financial strategy. Today's list is my top 5 books that will completely change how you think about money. So coming in at number 5 is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Now this book is over 100 years old, and don't let that deter you though. The principles are timeless. It teaches basic financial wisdom through short parables set in ancient Babylon. Things like paying yourself first, controlling your expenses, putting your money to work. The reason I love this book is because it simplifies money down down to its core principles. A lot of modern financial advice is complicated, but the fundamentals actually really have never changed. At number 4, you've got Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is less about numbers and more about the mindset. Hill spent years studying some of the most successful entrepreneurs and leaders of his time, trying to figure out what they had in common. The big takeaway is that wealth creation starts with a belief, a discipline, and clear goals. It's not strictly a finance book, but it is incredibly powerful to understand how successful people think. All right, you ready for number 3? It is The Millionaire Next Door. What's fascinating about this book is that it completely destroys the stereotype of what wealthy people look like. Most millionaires aren't flashy. They're not driving exotic cars or showing off their wealth. Instead, they're disciplined savers, they're consistent investors, and they live well below their means. It is a powerful reminder that wealth is usually quiet and built over long periods of time. At number 2, you've got Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that is by Robert Kiyosaki. This book is probably introduced millions of people to the idea that financial education is missing from our schools. It teaches the difference between assets and liabilities. It encourages people to think like business owners instead of employees when it comes to money. Whether you agree with every idea or not, it's just a fantastic book for opening people's eyes. And finally, you ready for number 1? Drum roll, please. Coming in at number 1 is Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. This book explains the infinite banking concept and why controlling the financing in your life is so powerful. It focuses on recapturing the interest you would normally pay to banks and financing companies by building your own personal banking system using dividend-paying whole life insurance. Like always, we'll link all of these books in the show notes if you want to dive deeper.
To the banking bro, said we couldn't make it, 3 cup setup, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.